Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Man Alone solo role playing YouTube channel. I'm your host, Man Alone. Fun fact my first name, Man, is actually short for Mandrake. Mandrake Alone, Swedish. Today, we're going to be talking about the lies that you tell yourself. We're going to expose you, viewer, because you've been telling some fibs, some real stinkers about why you solo role play. And now, I don't want to hold anything back in this video, but I also want you to know that I don't judge because, we all lie about our rationales, our motivations from time to time. Does anyone really go to a meditation class to find inner peace? No. At the end of the, 6-week session or whatever, there's always a potluck. And sometimes those muffins that Cheryl makes, forget Nirvana. That's transcendent. Okay. Here's why I'm making this video. I didn't expect to make this video, but a tragedy occurred about 20 minutes ago, and I've just now recovered from the angina caused by that. In my last video, I talked about wanting to do a nice playthrough of this game that I'm very jazzed to be playing solo. And so I did a video on it. I did an unboxing. And everyone's very, it came out 15 months ago. Everyone's very excited to see that starter set unboxed. So I had to do that on camera. And there was a whole bunch of plastic and junk around. So I said, hey, you know what? I don't usually do this, but let me give a little pause here in the video. Clear out my play space and then get back to it, which I did. Came back, resumed the video, did an overview of the Year Zero engine, solo play, got into a little character creation. When wouldn't you know it, I needed to take a little another break. And so I went ahead and pressed pause again. And as I did that, realized I was never unpaused. So I was sitting here in my basement talking to myself for 50 minutes. It was a great episode. I definitely gave it a like and a follow. Unfortunately, it now only exists in the Akashic records, but no matter, because this stroke of disfortune has opened up a new avenue of exploration here, in which we're going to talk about something that you'll see a lot of videos talk about, but I want to talk about it in a little bit of a different way, which is why you solo play, okay? And I'm specifically addressing those who you really want to solo play and there's something you can't get the momentum going for it. Maybe you buy the books, maybe you do a session 0, maybe you really just want it to make sense for you. I speak to you, ye who is vexed and flummoxed, because I think when I feel that way about anything, it's usually because I'm not being honest with myself about why I want to do it. And instead of being honest with my own reasons for wanting to do something, I will adopt other people's reasons. And whenever you do something for somebody else's reasons, you can maybe pull it off for a while, but eventually you either rage quit, or you are consistently bitter about it, or you create a compensatory behavior, whether that's addiction or just being nasty or whatever it is. And so what's hard is that we have these people we know who are really great and they do everything for really wonderful reasons. And meanwhile, we secretly see ourselves as this sort of petty, grubby-handed, selfish person, right? We're always like, wow, look at these other people. Here's, Man Alone, he says he solo role plays, for world peace, and I don't want that. It's like, hey, okay, not everybody is as, transcendently altruistic like I am, okay? I don't play for world peace. So I'm going to tell you a little bit why I play, and it's definitely not world peace. I think the best that we can do is be honest with ourselves about our motivations. Okay. Again, if we're pursuing a hobby or a job or a relationship for somebody else's reasons, then it will self-destruct one way or another. Okay. And even if we take a moment of honesty, hey, we could lie to everybody. We could lie to everybody about why we want to do stuff, but we have to be honest to ourselves. We have to keep that scoreboard. And one of the hardest things about that is our reasons for doing things are usually really petty, or maybe not petty. They're very simple and self-centered. Okay. So for instance, if you've ever had if you've ever gotten on like an exercise or diet routine and everything, you might see people who are like, look, the reason that you've got to work out is because you just want to be healthy. And, you want to be able, when you're 100, you want to be able to see your grandson Pebble, do the 30-yard dash. And, you want to be able to play catch with your dog, Werner Herzog. And, and it's like, yes, theoretically I want health and happiness. But if I'm sitting there trying to convince myself that I'm dieting to like reduce my carbon footprint, that is not an immediate enough objective. I need a more immediate, truthful objective. And let me tell you, if you're ever a person that struggled with your weight, your objectives, you're not kidding anybody. Your objectives have always been like either something to do with like finding someone who wanted to date you, wanting to recover from some early like injury to your self-esteem, making, Branson O'Tallery eat his words for standing you up at the spring fling. Whatever it is, those are the sort of hooks that actually compel people into action. Those bigger ones can sustain action, and especially as you explore the space of solo role-playing more, those things will start to make sense. But I think, at least initially, we got to know why we're doing this, okay? So all I'm going to do is tell you a couple of reasons that either I play or I know others play, just from conversations about it. Some of these might work, be accurate for you. Some of them might at least like spur something. Some of them might not be a match at all. And so I encourage you to just, whatever that is, take some time to be honest about what it is. Okay. And let me just, if I may, let's start at the top here. Okay, good. So the first one is to pass time. Okay. If you've ever played in a tabletop group with somebody who really wants to get going, hey, can we like leave? We got to find this like troll. Can we just go find the troll? Or like, hey, how long are we going to be at like this bazaar talking to people? Like, can we just like go? Cause we're supposed to find, this, golden fondue chalice or whatever. And at least for me, unless you are that guy, and I'm a person who is definitely that way. I'm always wanting to go to the next thing. Okay. I had a birthday party not too long ago, and I was just like, all right, let's wrap it up. Come on. And when you're playing though, like role-playing games, I was recently in a group with somebody like this, and my thought was repeatedly just like, where are you going? Or like, what are you doing? Where do you want to go that is more interesting than here? Right? Like, are you looking to like get our objectives over with so that you could like complete the game? Because, it usually doesn't work like that unless we're like playing a one shot or something. We're not going anywhere. Right? I mean, and this is not just in a game. If you want to think about the big pivotal cinematic moments of your life, that's 0.01% of the time. Okay. 0.01% of the time is you like running through the rain and being like, Cheryl, I was wrong. Take me back. She's like, oh, Steven, I love you. That's 0.01% of the time. The other 99.99% of the time is like you see a crumb on the carpet and you're like, I've got to pick that up when I go to the bathroom. That's like most of what your life is. And then you're in the bathroom, you're like, I forgot that crumb. Your most of your life is like folding over t-shirts and sighing. Um, most of your life is determining whether you want to like get regular honeycombs or the bargain, you know, Sure Crunch uh, honey ocarinas or whatever, that's most of your life. And so I will say, as I've gotten older, and I don't mean to be too sagacious here, please let me explain this after I say it. But one of the greatest things that I have learned about life that has brought me the most peace is one simple truth. There is nowhere to go and there is nothing to do. Okay, let me explain. So there is places to go and things to do. There's concerts, there's fun. You can go break up with somebody. You can go to one of those axe throwing bars. You can join a barbershop quartet. You can do all that stuff. But for the most part, you just kind of got to enjoy whatever you're doing, right? Because really, again, those moments are rare. And so if you're constantly trying to go and do something else, it's going to be a real heartbreaker on a consistent basis, right? Because you're going to get to the next place and that crumb is still going to be on that carpet. Okay. To summarize all of this, for number one, passing time, I love to solo role play because what else is there to do? What is it that I'm missing out on by solo role playing? Oh, how are you solo role playing? This is me when I was young. If anybody did any activity that didn't lead to enlightenment or garnering a new skill, talent, knowledge, growing, facing your fears, I'd be like, oh my God, why are you wasting your time on that? And these people who are all way better adjusted than me at the time were like, I don't know, I feel like it. Yeah, I just watched this movie over and over again. I just like the part where, Hans Gruber falls at the end of Die Hard. Like, I just enjoy it. And you're like, oh, well, you should be out there, wrestling with, the cosmos. No, that did nothing for me. Wrestling with the cosmos when I should have been wrestling with Shawn Michaels in that WWF game for Super Nintendo where like when you hit people as Doink the Clown, little clown horns came out. Anyways, passing the time is a great reason to solo play, possibly one of the best reasons. So if that's your reason, you don't have to come up with anything else. All right, number two, let's say sense of achievement. Is that the right way to spell achievement? Yeah. Okay. Here's what I know. I know that the human brain is a beautiful, amazing, complex organ on the outside. And then on the inside, near your brainstem, it is like a slightly smarter than a donkey. Your lizard brain has a very hard time differentiating different like qualifying things. It has difficult differentiating like qualia. Okay. And this is the reason why sometimes at work they'll say, hey, we all want to recognize, Man Alone did such a fantastic job this month. Can we all recognize, applause? And then I go, thank you. And I feel 6 points of achievement. And then I go home and I beat a level on Peggle 2 that I've been trying to beat for a while, and I get 9 points of achievement because my lizard brain can't differentiate. It's like, hey, did we win the prize? Yeah, we did. Oh, I love winning the prize. That's great, right? You did so good. Your lizard brain can't tell that well between like building a home and building a Lego home. Either way, it's like, do we have the house? And it's like, yeah, we do. It's great. It's like, wow, I'm so excited, right? Obviously, there are things that are deeply fulfilling and satisfying and, produce this feeling of equanimity and like being at one with the highest, transcendent version of yourself, actualizing. But for most things, your lizard brain is just like, hey, let's win. Let's try something and win. Okay. Gym bros, dudes that are like, just their whole life is like, increase my max by 10 pounds today. Yeah. Right. We can look down on those gym bros and say, why are you wasting time? Like, going from 550 pounds to 560 pounds. I'm writing a novel. Right. And so the novel writer writes a novel, and they write 1,000 pages, and it takes them 26 months, and their book gets 2.5 stars. Or maybe it does good. Maybe it gets 4.5, and they say, wow, that's great. That's one win every 26 months. Schwabi, who's increasing his power clean, Schwabi in those 26 months has had 4,000 wins. This is the way we inform ourselves of if we are capable, confident, worthful, right? Not worthy, worthful. This is we win. We have these little accomplishments, right? Because that's all our lizard brain wants, is to challenge, overcome, win. I have found solo role playing is one of the best sources of instantaneous and repetitive wins. I won the dice roll. I made a journal. I filled out a character sheet. I got a new idea. I beat this 4-legged creature. I did this all by myself. I learned a new game. Okay. That's a very active, participatory thing that I never got from, reading Infinite Jest. Great book. If you don't think Infinite Jest is a good book, you're just a punk. But this is a place that is just going to be a fountain of achievement. And yes, your achievement might be, I came up with a way to customize the weapons, or I made weapon cards and laminated them on little cardboard. Yeah, I know that's not discovering a new species of Hyrax, but it's your Hyrax brain, your lizard brain doesn't really know that. Okay. All right, let's move on. Number 3 is one that, especially if you are new to tabletop gaming as a whole, it's a great way to sharpen your skills, especially if you have a lot of fear about joining a table. If you are worried about not really, for me, I cannot understand something unless I do reps of it. And so it's really hard. I think it was hard for me not knowing about solo gaming when I first got into tabletop role playing, of I didn't have any way to rehearse it. I would read the stuff and maybe I would try dice rolls and stuff, but my brain was not fully able to put it together because I have to actually go through the mechanics in order for it to, lock into place. If you were a GM, solo play, there's few things that are going to sort of fill up your GM meter more. If you're a player who is trying to make sure that you understand a system before play, if you're a player trying to try different builds and stuff like that, solo play is going to give you a level of intimate knowledge of the game that is hard to get anywhere else. In fact, since as a solo player, I am sometimes amazed. And this is not, I'm not being judgmental here. This is, I understand the reasons for this, but I am sometimes amazed when I'm playing in a group setting, how many people, players wise, know nothing about the game. They just come to the table and they're like, all right, what do I do? How do I roll this? What kind of weapons are there? And the great thing about a lot of games is if you have a good GM and they, I hope they have the basic idea of what it is, they can really do that, right? But a solo player, we can't do that. We can't just be I kind of want to mail it in today. So instead of a dice oracle, I'm just going to chew peanut butter and yell at my dog. It's like we can't do that because we have to both perceive and create simultaneously. If you're a person who, like me, needs that sort of reps, you need the reps to get something and to have it lock into place. Soul is where it's at. Number 4, I think this is related. Let's call it. Well, we'll borrow this from Sart. Hell is other people. I don't believe that, but sometimes you don't fit in a group anymore. I recently stepped out of a game that I was playing with a group that it just wasn't fun anymore. And, you know, I think rather than rage quitting or blaming it on anybody else, it's helpful for me just to be like, you know, sometimes you just want to do your own thing. You want to create your own game. And there is this thing where you can like wish that it was different. Oh, I wish this player was this way. I wish the GM allowed for this. I wish that the game was set up this way. But eventually you're like, you know, that's sort of a ridiculous expectation. And so rather than this, let's say instead of hell is other people, let's just say heaven is a solo meep. Oh no, meeple is, I can't say that anymore. Yeah, that'll make no sense to anyone who comes into this video like a fourth way through. That's fine. Yeah, sometimes it's great to just have your own game, just set up your own stuff. Yeah, it's wonderful to like get a group together, strengths, weaknesses, accommodate people, agree, heighten, all that stuff. And sometimes it's good to like not have that person that's just, you know, does that thing that you're like, oh, here we go again, right? I certainly enjoy that. Is that a very kind or, you know, magnanimous? Is that a very like, am I a great person for saying that? No, but I don't really think it makes me a bad person. I just don't want to play with other people sometimes. I just want to be on my own. Valid reason. This one's pretty bland, but I'm going to say it. If you're a writer, GM, and you have a certain way of generating ideas that you can't do by just like sitting there and rolling around jelly beans in your mind, you need to like play with ideas. You need to like have your characters confront unexpected scenarios. You need to have a moment that is created by the clash, the confrontational clash of dice and your ideas. Then solo play is where truly crazy stuff happens. Where something happens where you want to laugh because the input is so terrible. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, that's actually kind of incredible. Yeah, actually, I think instead of a sci-fi book that takes place in space, I'm going to put the whole thing at a carnival. Right? It's that kind of stuff that smashes into you, broadsides you, and puts you on a new trajectory of something because you just would not be able to see it like that without the permutational quality of the dice. Same goes for Andrew Dice Clay. Yeah. Okay. Looking to own instead of rent. Let me see how I can articulate this. You know, I think that one of the harder things about role-playing games is the level of we're not even talking solo play right now, just tabletop role-playing in general. It's the level of logistics and scheduling that has to be conducted amidst people who many are like renowned for their poor organizational skills and chaotic lifestyles. You can have many games that just like go on for a few weeks and then deflate into nothing. You just maybe skip a week for, Arbor Day, and then suddenly nobody says anything the next week, and then 6 weeks later you're like, I guess we're not playing anymore. And also there is a sense too that I get sometimes when I'm playing, especially like when I would still play 5e. I won't play that anymore. When there was this feeling of like, I'm so tired of Vecna. I'm like so tired of, going into these imaginative spaces that like other people have trampled through so much. And I don't want to rent anymore. Like I want to buy. I want to have something that is mine. I could take it in whatever direction I want. In the solo session of this that is like in the lost tapes, I guess you could say, it really didn't even feel like Walking Dead. I felt like I was kind of creating my own thing. That's, to me, is really beautiful, and that's a really beautiful possibility. Now, can that happen in group play? Absolutely. If you have a good group, especially, you can go off in a direction, and it's just totally something new and inspired, etc. But I think I just get tired of renting hobbies from other people. And especially if you're not a GM, looking for that GM and knowing that the GM role is inherently taxing, but not necessarily like wanting to live in a world where GMs like charge for their services and stuff like that. I just like feel really, I'm so happy that I solo play. That doesn't mean I never want to group play. It's just I'm so happy that I have this ability to just like have my own homestead, so to speak. Okay. So the last thing, and what I would say for me is the most important, and I've touched on this in previous videos. I am a person who I'm very much located in my crown, maybe not crown, head chakra, right? I'm always thinking and rationalizing and trying to deconstruct things and trying to think of multiple outcomes, all very good skills for solo role playing. Some of you might experience something similar, more centered on like anxiety or obsessive thoughts. Some of you might feel like a lot of shame, guilt about stuff. I've certainly been there. And what's so wild is that I always thought that I had a really good relationship with my own internal dialogue. And I actually used to think like, wow, there are people who are just so passive. They just allow, advertisements to just sink into their brain, or they just accept whatever people tell them. They don't even question it, or they have so low insight, and I did realize, though, I was doing an activity, one that I was just reading in a book. I can't even remember the book, unfortunately. But it was like the activity was naming the different characters in your head. And so like I had one that was the Inquisitor, and that's, comprised of like early Catholic guilt and fear of, imperfection and stuff. And then there was like the drunk at the end of the bar who's like, oh, let me tell you how life actually is. I like created this whole cast of characters. And I thought that was a really cool activity. And then I realized the only person missing was like anyone remotely like me. Like I had all these characters in my head, but not only did none of them feel or look like me, I also was not even there as I imagined them, like talking to them. And that's when I realized that like I I was not I didn't have insight. I was terrible at having a conversation with myself. I was very good at listening to like a lecture from myself. I would say that that was my relationship, is that I would sit in the auditorium and I would allow these characters to come up and lecture me on whatever I should be doing or should be thinking, or why you're angry or why whatever. And what I believe is that in order to have a conversation with yourself, you have to make space for yourself to talk. And it is really hard to make space for yourself to talk when you feel like you're making space for yourself to talk. So you almost have to trick yourself a little bit, right? Because most of what, if I were to try to sit here right now and tell you like, oh, this is like what's going on in my life, here's things I need to improve, here are things that I'm really angry about, proud about, even that tiny transit from my brain to my mouth, there would be like 56 editors who would like make markups with a red pen before I stated it out loud. And so I have to put those editors on break. But to put them on break would make them suspicious, and so they will not go on break. And I find that solo play is immersive enough. Oh, great, the birds are up. That means one of the things I should say to myself is I need to go to bed. Solo play is a chance to have a conversation with yourself. An even better conversation with yourself that you don't really know you're having until afterwards. You have to forget that you're talking to yourself. That is as close as you can get to achieving like a flow state in solo play, is when you forget that it's just you. All of those people, the inquisitor, the drunk at the end of the bar, the knight who swore an oath, whatever, all these different characters that are in with you, they're all there. They're great. I mean, they're the ones that are like the best NPCs, companions, etc. But again, as soon as I start to, this is why journaling never worked for me, because I always knew I was journaling. And that's why when I look back at my old journals, not only am I embarrassed of like how bad what I wrote was, I'm also struck by how dishonest it was. It was dramatized. It was overwrought, because I was performing. Because that's all I knew how to do, is like be in the audience to some other voice for me. I believe that if this is something that works for you, and that's something you can imagine yourself not only being interested in, but benefiting from, then I can find no reason better than this. And I guess because, I get paid by the minute on YouTube, I don't really think that I would add this as like an official 8. But I will say, as maybe like a bonus, I think people really need to be okay with this, that I think some of us just like to solo play because we like collecting stuff. I think some of us, the idea that we will one day sit down and play these games is what we use to justify like the persistent bloodlust that we have for buying these things. And I'm wondering, rather than like trying to stuff that down and deny it, I wonder what would happen if you're like, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'm not going to play them. I just like looking at them. Because the reality is that there is so much shit that people just buy to look at that is way less interesting. There are people who buy Fabergé eggs. You can't, there's not even a section on character creation in a Fabergé egg. Fabergé egg. Instructions for use. Place on table. Look at Fabergé egg. Slowly die. That's it. And so what if you were just like, yeah, I like looking at them. I like reading them. I like to think about playing them. Is that okay? Could you be okay with that? Because I bet you, and I won't say too much on this, but I bet you if you became okay with that, your editors would go to bed. And maybe then something interesting would happen. But until you're not accepting that, your editors are going to be on very high alert. It is, I'm not kidding, it's 4:36 a.m. and I have to go to work in 3 hours. And I love SoloRPGs. I love that I'm not asleep right now to talk about this, because this is the best shit. Like, this is great. This is a great hobby. I'm so thankful that we have this hobby. It's so weird. It makes no sense to a lot of people. It makes no sense to us a lot of the time. But it's so interesting. It is so interesting that we are just looking for these like instruction manuals that are only like half written. It's so interesting that we have these games, just like any game, but like every person who plays it, it's different. It would be like if Metal Gear Solid 2 or something, you know, had bought by 500,000 people, had 500,000 different endings. How weird is that? I love this hobby. And I love the fact that I'm going to be so miserable at work tomorrow. And that if somebody looks at me and they're like, oh, rough night, huh? I'm going to say, brother, you don't know the half of it. And they're going to be like, yeah. And in their head, they're going to be like, yeah, I drank beer from a keg. And in my head, I'm going to be like, wow, I can't believe that I didn't buy those Walking Dead standees from the used bookstore when I had a chance. And so I stayed up so late trying to figure out how to print them out on heavy stock cardboard. But when I look at that guy, when I look at Dale Roach or whatever his name's going to be, and he nods at me, both of us know the truth. That the reason I'm tired today is because I was up late last night partying. Damn straight. Okay, I think that's the end of this video. Goodbye.